in this video, we are going to be going over and actually trying out, testing out one of the presumably best, highest paying new side hustle opportunities in the current climate of things. It doesn't require a degree, no experience. It has very few requirements. What is it? Great question. Let me put you on real quick. So at this point, I've tested out quite a bit of different side hustle opportunities on this channel, from charging electric scooters to renting cars on Turo, money-making apps, you name it. And at a time like we're living in right now, where people are losing jobs, the economy is not doing too hot, businesses are being shut down, having a side hustle is more valuable than ever, and especially an online one, since brick and mortar ones are getting hit the hardest. Now, I could just sit here and tell you that the solution to all of your financial problems is that you should get into the business I'm in, which is Shopify dropshipping, buy my course, and I'll see you at the next annual Lambo meetup. And although, yeah, you can make a ridiculous amount of money with dropshipping, the problem with getting into any online business is that it always takes some time and usually at least some startup capital to get things moving. So if you just lost your job, you gotta make rent and put food on the table, spending your last bit of money on starting a new business may simply just not be an option. So how do you get to a point where you have money you can invest into a business, or maybe you just want some extra side income? Well, you can do something called insurance fraud. I'm just kidding, you start a side hustle, and today we're going to be testing out something called Instacart, which is an app on which people order groceries and have them delivered to their front door, sort of like an Uber for produce. So I can go on the Instacart app, say I need some carrots, ramen, and a pack of LaCroix, put in my order, and I'll have that delivered to my home. Now, there obviously has to be someone on the other end of this app delivering these groceries, and that's where the side hustle opportunity comes in. As I'm sure you can imagine, during a time like we're in right now, this service is in higher demand than ever, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to get used to using this service even after all this is over, and this will continue being a viable opportunity. But how do you get started with this app? How much can you get paid? There's a lot of numbers floating around the internet. We're gonna get to the bottom of all of this and experience a real day as an Instacart delivery connoisseur.
Going to finish that croissant.
I don't think that's the right word for it, but I actually have a friend named Brian who does Instacart as a side hustle, and he agreed to give us some high quality insider info, tell us everything we need to know. We're also going to do some actual deliveries, talk numbers, and see how much we can make. It's currently 7:36 a.m. on a Monday, so let's go ahead and head over to his place to clock in. So I drove over to the Instacart legend himself, got there at around 8:15 a.m. As soon as I was there, Brian already had accepted an order, and we got straight to business and drove to Safeway. Now, while driving over to the first store, I asked a few questions on how to get started from step one, and turns out it's actually a very simple process. You first download the Instacart app on your iOS or Android device, put in your personal information. There's a waiting period during which someone has to review your info. This can take some time, it varies, but once you get approved, you can then start doing deliveries straight away. Now, to pay for the actual groceries, you don't have to use your own form of payment and then wait to get reimbursed, which is great. Instead, most of the time you use Instacart's Apple Pay virtual card type of thing, so they're the ones that get charged, and for the few stores that don't accept Apple Pay, Instacart sends you a card that you can charge when checking out, which brings up the obvious question of
what happens if you buy a little snack with that?
I haven't tried yet. We can try.
We're not gonna try that. That was a joke.
But when we got to the store, we popped on the mask and gloves and got to work. On the app, you have a list of things you need to find, and for some stores, the app even tells you which aisle the item is on, so that's very convenient. But for this order, we needed to find 41 items. And when you find the item you're looking for, you simply scan the barcode through the app, it confirms that it's the right item, and you move on to the next one. It's in your best interest to complete your order in the quickest amount of time possible, as you get paid as soon as you're done. So the quicker you do things, the more orders you can complete throughout the day, and it's good for the customer. From Brian's experience, in the area that he works in, he gets the most orders between 6 to 11 a.m. Not sure if that's because there's less competition or if more people order during this time, or maybe even both, but that's why we went early, which was also nice since the stores are usually empty during this time, so you can get the orders done a lot quicker. I watched Brian do that for a while, and it was very smooth sailing. All the items were there and were getting scanned in, but eventually we started running into some issues with things being out of stock. But it turns out if the exact item you need is out of stock, no big deal. You can look for alternatives the way we did with the cilantro during this trip. The regular kind was out in the store, so we found some organic kind, and the customer was fine with that, so done deal there, and we moved on. However, if an item is completely out of stock, there's no alternatives, you can put that into the app and the customer will get a refund. However, the tip the customer provided for you beforehand will automatically decrease each time you do that, so there is a lot of motivation to find everything you can. But if anything, you can also contact the customer through the app by text, or even get to call them. Once we gathered all the items for this order, we headed to the checkout, used the Instacart Apple Pay to check out, left the store, loaded up the car, and headed to the customer's crib. Upon arrival, Brian unloaded the car, and during normal times, people will sometimes come out and you can talk to them, and they might even tip you with cash on top of what you're already earning through the app. However, with everything going on, it makes more sense to just drop off the products, take the picture for the app, knock on the door, and leave right away. People who are currently ordering groceries through this app are likely doing so to avoid human contact, so they'll appreciate you not waiting for them to come out. So Brian wasn't being rude by knocking and leaving right away, it was more out of a place of thoughtfulness. But with that, this order was complete. We accepted this grocery list at 8:06 a.m, but we actually drove out and started at about 8:15 a.m, then ended at around 9:20 a.m. So basically for 1 hour of work, give or take 5 minutes, he earned $50.25. And at this point, Brian would normally just simply go on the app and look for new orders to accept and continue this process for as long as he would like. If there aren't any new orders he wants to get into at the moment, he could just go grab some breakfast, and then by the time he's done, more orders have been updated and he can select whichever one he wants. But I left off on this first order as everything from this point would just be rinse and repeat. $50 in an hour, no degree necessary, no training, no intensive physical labor. Sounds almost too good to be true, but you saw it happen here. But I will say there are a few caveats, so let's go over those as well as how much you can make on a weekly basis and everything else you need to know. First of all, my personal experience with this from tagging along on the delivery, very positive. I could definitely see how this could even be enjoyable. You pop in a podcast, do some grocery shopping, and secure some serious money, but how much to be exact, that depends on your location and how much you're willing to work. The higher populated area you live in, the more orders you'll see on your app and the more you can make. Brian told me about a friend who lives in Portland, which is a pretty big city, and this guy just absolutely grinds, takes it very seriously, wakes up at 6 a.m. and does deliveries until 6 p.m. in a very populated area. So he's putting in 12-hour shifts, but in these 12 hours, he makes up to $500 per day from this app, which is a pretty respectable number. If you do the math there, let's say he takes weekends off, so he works 5 days a week for a month. That's 20 days times $500 per day. $10K a month. The guru ad you saw before this video probably doesn't even promise that. And multiply that $10K by 12 months, $120,000. So he could work even less than that, take some days off, and still be pulling in a 6-figure income. I mean, we made $50 in one delivery with Brian. You do 10 of those per day, and you're on track to make over 6 figures for the year.
Money add then multiply, I call it mathematics.
Now that is an extreme example. That guy grinds like an absolute madman. He's in the right location, and with what's going on right now, those numbers are possible, but I don't know how sustainable that is long term. And I think we even actually got somewhat lucky with Brian on this $50 order as our first one. From what I've heard, they're usually closer to $20 or $30, which is still really good, and the 50 ones are definitely possible, as we saw. And with these numbers in mind, let's say you live like 40 minutes away from a big city, it might even be worth it for you to drive over there and fulfill orders there, since you're getting paid a pretty solid amount. But even if you don't live in or remotely near a huge city, I feel like you can still at the very least make above minimum wage while getting to work on your own schedule. So that sounds great and all, but let's address the biggest complaint most people will bring up here, and that's gas and putting mileage on your car. But honestly, unless you're driving a huge off-road rig or a sports car for deliveries, it's not that big of an issue. Even in California right now, at least in the area I live in, gas is like below $3 a gallon. A Toyota Camry gets, I don't know, 30 miles a gallon. So you're maybe using up to $2 max per delivery on gas, and let's add another $1 or $2 for mileage. So at the very most, you're looking at around $4 per delivery you gotta spend on your car. Usually not driving that far, so it's less, but even $4 compared to how much you can make is not that big of an issue. What I would worry about is the taxes, since you're not getting money deducted for your payments, so you do have to put some money aside.
You should be afraid of the IRS.
But due to the nature of work you're doing, I'm sure you can get creative with that. I'm not an accountant or CPA, but it sounds like gas could be written off, wear and tear in your car, maybe insurance, possibly some other things. So the two biggest concerns with this are not even that bad. You do have to be 18 to sign up for the app, although if you have a driver's license at like 17, I'm not gonna say it. But if you're over 21, you can also take on orders on which people have alcohol on their grocery list, so you have more options there, which can make this an even better opportunity, since you can kind of cherry pick the best and highest paying orders as you have more options than people who are under 21. So from the research I've done, the people I've talked to, and after trying this out, it seems like a great way to make some extra side money, and during a time like this, maybe even a straight up full-time income. If you're in school, temporarily got laid off, or if you have some spare time you just want to put to good use. Not only are you making solid money with this, is, but you can also feel good knowing you're helping people out. This is a pretty important service to certain groups of people, especially right now. And this video is absolutely not sponsored by Instacart. I'm not getting a dime from them. This is all just my opinion. And if you do want to sign up for the app, I'll put Brian's referral link in the description. Shout out to him for taking me along today and showing me the ropes. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Peace.